Okay, welcome to the situation update for Wednesday, January 12th, 2022. This is Mike Adams, and this is a simulcast podcast on Brighteon.com, as well as a video on Brighteon.tv, well, placeholder thumbnail video, I should say. And then the audio content is on BrighteonRadio.com. Now, I do have some new interviews that I've just done. In particular, interviews. Yesterday, I was interviewed with Sheila Zelinsky and Steve Quayle and Gary Haven, the three of us together on the Sheila Zelinsky show. I believe that is now available on her website. Regret I don't have her URL in front of me, but you can probably find it. Her last name is spelled, I think it's Zilinsk. Is it a Y at the end? I'm not exactly sure, but you can probably find it. Anyway, I'll probably cross-post that on my channel on Brighteon.com. And that one got pretty dark. Between Steve Quayle, Gary Haven, and myself, that was like doom and gloom and kaboom. It was like Steve would talk for 5 minutes. He would say, "Mike, what other dark picture do you have to add to that?" And then I would say, "Well, you've only scratched the surface of the collapse that's coming." And then I would talk for a few minutes, and I would say, "Hey, Gary, what do you think about that?" And then Gary would say, let me give you the big picture view of how screwed we really are. And then he would go for 5 minutes. So Sheila barely spoke in that entire interview. That's what was wild about it, although she deserves a lot of credit for pulling us all together and getting us all on the phone at the same time. And I think it's poorly named because it doesn't mention that it contains black cumin seed. So if you're looking for black seed or black cumin seed oil in a really delicious product that also has raspberry seed oil, that's what it's called, Core Vitality Essentials. I told my team, we got to change the name. It's got to say, black seed somewhere in the name. So we're going to change that name. But that means we'll have to sell out all the current inventory and then do a new run with new labels and new, we have to submit it for new approval for organics and everything. So it's complicated. It's good to get the name right the first time, and unfortunately, we did not do that. Okay, let me try to set the picture for the big bombshell news that came out really late last night, but there's been a lot of editorial coverage over the last 24 hours that has really made a big difference. This involves Project Veritas. Let me set the context here, okay? And you know this if you've been listening to these podcasts. The governments of the world are waging an extermination war against the human race. That is now undeniable, just like they're the last voice to say something after everybody else has come out and said it first. And we're not going to mention any of those people. It's not really that useful. And then finally, there are the left-wing corporate media who will tell you the opposite of what is happening. They lie on purpose. So they are almost 100% wrong. But they're trying to get it wrong. They're trying to mislead. So you have to understand each person's position in this hierarchy. I don't know if it's a hierarchy, a spectrum, let's say, of information. And some people are forward-looking, are making projections, like myself. Some people are talking about what's here right now. Some people are way behind the curve. He's a bullpen catcher named Jean Ramirez. He just died at age 28. He was a late-round pick out of Illinois State in the 2016 draft. He played 3 seasons in Tampa Bay's farm system before being released. And then, the club hired Ramirez and so on and so forth. And he died unexpectedly. So then EcoHealth Alliance went ahead with the help of Fauci. They got funding from another source, and they just did it anyway, which is why we are here, is why we're dealing with this whole thing, because they use it as weapons research, gain-of-function research. Well, now Project Veritas has received the documents that confirm the authenticity of all of that, because the documents now come officially from DARPA, which is part of the Pentagon. Everything's all twisted up and everything's inverted and turned into opposites. That's if you want to be a liberal these days, you got to believe in all the opposites. You have to live in an upside down world. Oh, and by the way, just as a side note, do you realize that pretty soon now, the entire Penn State swimming team, women's swimming team, is going to be nothing but men? because now there was a second man, I think, that has competed. At least I heard that's the case on the women's team. I don't know. I have to go back and check it. But since men are doing so well on the women's swimming teams, I mean, they're beating them by, 40 seconds, which is an enormous huge gap in terms of swimming. So more and more men are going to say, hey, I can't compete on the men's team because those other men are pretty good. I'm just going to go to the women's team and just start taking the gold over here, winning all the medals. And then everybody will applaud me because now I'm also a courageous woman for being a transgender. So just think about the insanity of this situation. A couple of years from now, there'll be a women's swimming meet at a university, and the women's team will come out, and you'll think you're watching, like, I don't know, the 1984 East German Olympics women's team that's all, doped up on steroids, like big, hairy Bigfoot women, hulking out, like getting ready to do the shot put. You're like, those are women? That's going to be the swimming team. You're like, oh my gosh. And then, more shockingly, there will be no actual women left to compete on women's teams because they will all be taken over by men. And so that means in most of the colleges across America and ultimately around the world, if this insanity continues to spread, you're going to have basically just two different teams that compete. There's going to be the real men's team and then the fake women's team, which is all just biological men pretending to be women. So just keep in mind that the same leftists who are pushing all this, they're the ones complaining about male chauvinism. They're the ones who claimed to be feminists all these years and to focus on women's rights and women's civil liberties and empowering women. And I guess they've decided that the best way to empower women is to beat them with a man who's pretending to be a woman. Like that's now feminism somehow, which again is totally insane, but that's, indicative of the radical left that we're talking about here. I can just see the announcer at the end of a swim meet, and today the best woman is a man. Here, have the gold medal, take the silver. And then one of these male swimmers will grab the mic and just scream out in a real deep, manly voice, "I am woman, hear me roar!" And everybody will go, "What? What was that? This is the women's swim team? Okay, let's not watch this anymore." But the reason I mention all this, it really is related. And you're thinking, oh my God, the world is truly insane. These people are bonkers. All right, but we're going to move on here to the question, what is their next move? Because I did make that note as promised. What is their next move? We'll talk about that next. Okay, for those of you joining in progress, I want to welcome you to the continuation of the Situation Update. This is Wednesday, January 12th, and this segment's airing on Brighteon TV. So welcome to Brighteon.tv and BrighteonRadio.com. I'm Mike Adams, the founder of the Brighteon platform, and we're talking about what is the next move of the globalists as they're trying to carry out mass extermination and crush human freedom and throw people into concentration camps, which are already activated in the state of Washington. The internet was in its infancy, but Rush Limbaugh was coming up on AM radio, and to a lot of people, Rush Limbaugh made a lot of sense. He was questioning the lunacy of the early Clinton years and, the lunacy of just unabated illegal immigration and money printing and all these things. And so what did the Clinton administration stage? Oh, they waged a false flag operation known as Oklahoma City. And they set up Timothy McVeigh as a scapegoat. They had to create a catastrophe, and then the media in lockstep blamed Rush Limbaugh and conservative radio. Does that sound familiar? Same thing they're doing now with the DOJ launching, homegrown terrorism investigations into conservatives. They can never allow conservatives to be awakened or to gain strength in any communications medium, such as radio or the internet or social media or what have you. Some people are going to say that, but others are going to go along with it because they're stupid. Like, they think government's going to take care of them, really? So at some point, the camps are going to get full. Now, I think in Washington State, they have, it's either 2 or 3 camps that are active right now. They might, they have multiple methods that they can use. And I know, there's talk out there on the internet that they might use guillotines, because guillotines work without power and they don't need ammunition. And they're really simple. Even retarded libtards can actually still operate guillotines, it turns out, because a lot of them can't figure out how to use guns and things, because guns have safeties and magazines and reciprocating slides and things like that. Oh, confusing, but they can use guillotines, But I actually think there's something else that's going to happen, and that's incinerators. And we saw this with China in the early days. I don't know if you recall this, but the incinerators were running 24/7. They had ordered all these portable, like shipping container sized incinerators, and they were incinerating people at an incredible rate. And there was even this giant plume. I forgot what chemical it was that was being given off by the incinerators. As most of China was shut down, the incineration ovens were running 24/7, and there was a backlog of bodies stacking up. Remember all that? I don't think that was fiction. I think China was using the cover of the pandemic to exterminate those that they wanted to get rid of anyway. And then we heard rumors that people were being thrown into the incineration ovens alive. That some of the people who were chucking the body bags in there found out that because those were their orders, right? And if you disobey, well, they have a bag for you. So how much you want to bet that something similar is going to happen right under Governor Jay Inslee? It's going to happen in Oregon. It's going to happen in California. It's going to happen in New York. They're going to bring in portable incinerators, and they're just going to start chucking people into these ovens. Heck, they wouldn't be trafficking and raping the children, which is what Democrats do. If they were going to stop at evil, they wouldn't be lying every day. They wouldn't hate America. They wouldn't hate Christians, and they wouldn't hate white people. They wouldn't hate their own babies and try to murder their children all the time. If they were going to stop at evil, we wouldn't even be here. So no, the fact that this is evil is not going to stop any of these Democrats. They thrive on evil. That's actually where they get their juice. That's kind of like their battery pack, little demonic copper top energy siphoning system. If they can make people suffer and die, they get, like, I don't know, satanic karma points or something. So how much you want to bet they're going to chuck people into the incinerators to make room for new people in the death camps? And then the rest of us are going to be saying, where is everybody? Where did all the workers go? And actually, this question is being raised right now, isn't it? Where are all the workers? Where are the people who used to work at the bank? They're not there. Where are the people who used to work at the grocery stores, the stock boys, the truck loaders for UPS, the long haul drivers, the nurses, and so on and so forth? Where did everybody go? Why are there so many job openings all across America, but nobody to fill them? Where are people disappearing to? This is a question that people have right now. And there are a lot of theories about this, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now because it's too deep and it's too crazy. But it seems like we're living in a world where there are a lot fewer people with each passing week, doesn't it? And now you might think, no, that's impossible. There's no way they could run death camps and incineration ovens just right there in front of all the people of Washington State. Go read your history books, folks, because the German people had the concentration camps in their own backyards, just down the street. A few hundred yards away in some cases, there was a concentration camp, and the quote, good Germans, they didn't know about it. They were just keeping their heads down, doing what they were told, not rocking the boat because you don't want to piss off Adolf, You don't want to get on the bad side of Hitler himself. So you just keep your head down, you go with the flow. Meanwhile, there's mass extermination happening right in your own backyard, people suffering and dying and starving to death. Incredible human rights abuses, horrific crimes against humanity being carried out. medical experiments against prisoners. Ring a bell? Same thing that's happening in America right now. We have political prisoners in Washington, D.C. They're being tortured. We have judges ordering prisoners in the prison system to take experimental medical shots, total violation of the Nuremberg codes, but it's happening in America today. So don't anybody tell me that this can't happen in America. Probably a lot of you listening to this won't go along with this. And I can see citizens actually running armed rescue operations to free people from the death camps. I mean, I'm not calling for it, but I can imagine that that's the kind of thing that's going to happen, because I'm not calling for any kind of violence, but hey, this is violence against us. I can see rescue operations being run in places like Washington State to rescue people from the death camps. Folks, you're living in a war zone right now. If you're living in America, you're living in a war zone. You are under attack. Even they know leftists are completely insane, lost their minds, total lunatics. They can't leave them alive in society. They're going to murder them too, because their goal is total extermination. It's just they got to get rid of the conservatives first, because that's who has the guns, you see. So, we are fast approaching a moment. So there's no additional risk in standing our ground at this point and saying, no, you might as well at some point, in self-defense, defend your lives, defend your families, defend your communities, defend your nation. Because mark my words. So there's a sense of urgency on their part, and they have no ethics, no morals. They respect no law. They respect no sense of humanity or human rights or civil rights or anything. They're waging war against you while pretending to be engaged in public health policies. And it's an information war as well, with the media lies and the censorship by big tech, but it's all a war. And they want to kill you. Amazing shows with amazing hosts like Ann Vandersteel and so many others. And then brighteonradio.com is our new platform, audio only format, amazing shows all day, Monday through Friday also. And we're running these two platforms and, patriotism and reality each and every day on these platforms. And I want to thank you for your support. I can't thank you enough for keeping us all on the air. And we're here with you. We are here. I mean, they've tried to take us down so many times, but they failed. We are here. And thanks to your support, we're going to be here through this entire war. And we're going to be victorious, by the way. And then this platform is going to become the hub for information on rebuilding America to unleash a new golden age after the defeat of these demons and anti-humanists who are all going down. They're going down.